Is monetary policy still effective? That's not just an academic issue these days. We normally look at whether the Federal Reserve is easing or tightening by looking at changes in one interest rate, the federal funds rate. And the Fed has brought this interest rate real close to zero. Well, normally we say, gee, the Fed is going to ease, meaning that this interest rate is going to fall lower. Well, how do you get an interest rate below zero? I don't think that's going to happen. And that's led to some folks worrying that monetary policy will be ineffective. I don't buy that, and here's why. In order to affect this interest rate, the Federal Reserve works in one small area of the securities market. They're buying and selling short-term treasuries. But long-term treasuries, they're not actively involved in. They could be buying those securities to get the interest rates there lower. They could be involved in corporates. In fact, the first open market operations by the Federal Reserve was in private sector securities, and they could also work in munis. And in these other areas, there's plenty of room for interest rates to go down. This is what we call the Treasury yield curve. It shows interest rates on different maturities. Here's the 10-year bond paying 2.5%. We could bring that baby down another 2.5 percentage points. The long-term 20-year bond, we could bring it down 3.5 percentage points. On the corporate side, corporate bond rates have actually increased because of nervousness about corporate bankruptcies. The Federal Reserve could start buying corporate bonds, bring those interest rates down. Municipal interest rates as well could come down. Well, there is room to bring interest rates down, but one of the interesting questions is, will that actually change the economy? John Maynard Keynes said maybe not, because there are times when businesses just are not going to invest regardless of the interest rate. The prospects for business are so lousy that even at zero interest rate, companies are not going to borrow money in order to buy new plant and equipment. Milton Friedman said differently, though. Friedman studied monetary policy for a century's worth of data on monetary policy, and he concluded that money growth was very powerful. You didn't have to worry about interest rates too much, just get more money supply out there, even if you had to drop the dollar bills from a helicopter. Which do I buy? I'm a lot more on the Friedman side, but I put things a little bit differently. You know, we often look at the economy and we imagine a typical household or a typical business. And today we say the typical business is not going to buy new plant and equipment, even at zero interest rates. But there's not any one typical consumer or one typical business. We've got a wide range of entities out there. On the individual side, family side, yeah, there are people who have lost their jobs and there are others who are worried about it, but my dentist, my mailman, they're not going to lose their jobs, they're not worried about it, and they can take advantage of low interest rates or cheap prices on consumer goods. On the business side, yeah, there are some companies that are hurting a lot from the recession, but there are others who are in fairly stable areas. Healthcare is very stable. Selling consumer staples, your basic rice and beans kind of thing, those companies are in fairly good shape, and they have the ability to take advantage of the low interest rates and the cheap prices that are available in many cases. So monetary policy, the Federal Reserve has been putting a lot of stimulus into the economy, and I think it's going to work. There are time lags. Milton Friedman said the time lags are long and variable, but eventually monetary policy always works. I'm Dr. Bill Connerly. Take a look at more of my insights on the economy at the Businomics blog.